I'm going to be talking today on utilizing LinkedIn effectively. As usual too, this is a very casual lunch and learn experience, and as we've got just a few people here, feel free to just jump in with any questions as they come in, but we could also just save questions to the end, whatever you're comfortable with. Before we get started in the presentation today, does anybody have any preferences or real concerns or questions specifically about LinkedIn? Just kind of here to learn everything you can. Cool. Okay, so what is LinkedIn? LinkedIn is a platform that is primarily used on desktops, computers, or apps. It's great for making connections. It also can serve as a digital resume. It's also a great way to learn. If you haven't heard of the offshoot LinkedIn Learning, I will touch on that as well. It is usually a subset of LinkedIn that you have to pay to use, but it is provided free for you with your library card access, and it's a great way to learn new skills. Are you here for LinkedIn Learning? Come on in. We're just getting started. So as I said, it's kind of most commonly used for as a digital resume. I think at this point in our timeline, people know that employers are going to look for you online, and they're going to look to see if you're on LinkedIn. If you have no interest in using LinkedIn as a networking tool or a learning experience, that is fine, but I do highly recommend at least creating a profile for yourself as a digital resume, just to make it easier for employers to find you and see what you're about. Sometimes that's easier for them than just looking at a resume, even if you've already applied to the position. It's also a great networking and career development tool. I've used it as a way to learn more about different fields when I was exploring becoming a librarian, or once I was a librarian but wanted to relocate from where I was currently living. I absolutely reached out to librarians who were just listed as open to talk in the places I was exploring moving to just shoot them a little private message and say, hey, what's it like being a librarian in Chattanooga? What's it like being a librarian in Atlanta? What do you think about it? And people are very happy to talk and share those experiences. So it's a great way to network with folks as well. It's also a job searching site. There are many fields who have recruiters on LinkedIn, and that is exclusively how they search for ideal and good candidates now. So it can be a really great way to find your next job opportunity as well. So I'm going to really start from the beginning of navigating LinkedIn. I did create this a little bit a while ago, so the homepage might look slightly different now, but the gists of it are the same. You will see that it's kind of like a professional Facebook. That's how I like to refer to it. If you're familiar with Facebook, you're familiar with LinkedIn. Your homepage is going to look like this, where it's got an overview of you and your profile over here. Any groups that you might be in will be there, and if they have new developments, those will be there. There's also what they call a news feed. So this is going to show you some activities that, or ads that LinkedIn thinks might be relevant to your experience on their site. One of the biggest things I recommend folks do when they log into LinkedIn is change this little very tiny sort by top category to recent. The regular settings, which you can't change to make recent your default every time, is to show you ads as soon as you log in. So if you just immediately tick that top button and change it to recent, it's going to show you some of the most recent posts by people you are already connected with instead of ads. You can also search or start a post here. And then at the top bar, which I'll go further in detail of, are all the different ways to navigate LinkedIn for the types of things you might be wanting to do. And of course, there's news off to the side because they want their own little news feed as well. Does anybody have any questions about the homepage experience of LinkedIn? It can be overwhelming because some of these things change every time you open up the page, it seems.
So did you add your picture and the picture behind it, just like on Facebook?
Yes, just like on Facebook. You'll kind of have two pictures. And I do recommend that. That shows that you're active, you are a real person. Anybody can create a LinkedIn profile. Anybody can create a job that they're hiring for on LinkedIn, whether or not that's a real person or a real job. Anyone can do it. So I do recommend having a good, easy to see photo of you and maybe a banner profile. If you don't want to upload a banner profile, which is the image behind your profile picture, that's okay. LinkedIn has a lot of generic ones that you can just choose from if you don't want to bother uploading your own.
Are those the only two ways to personalize the front sheet?
Basically, yeah. Now, like I said, this is going to change for everybody depending on what ads it's showing you or what your connections are. So if I was to pull up my LinkedIn page and you would pull up yours, we would both immediately get very different things right here. The other stuff is going to change less often. Honestly, when I log in, I don't even pay attention to this unless I have a specific person I want to connect with or see who's doing things, because it's just so unreliable what that could be. So the two biggest things is to get to the home button. If you move away from this, if you search for something, if you go to your messages, you might want to be like, I just want to get back to the home screen. And those are the two buttons that are going to do that. The home button up at the top, and then just clicking on the profile, the icon of LinkedIn there. Other big things to think about, like I said, is the recent category, which is, this is going to show you what your friends are up to or your connections are up to. If you're involved in any groups, like maybe you're part of your alumni group, or maybe you're part of the Librarians of Illinois network, that's going to show up here. And then the LinkedIn news is also going to change regularly. I honestly don't even use or refer to that either very often, because if I want to look at news, I will go to news sites. If I'm here on LinkedIn, I focus on what I'm there for professionally. But it is useful to folks to see what's going on in the world of business. Like I said, I did talk about the LinkedIn thing. You can always see who you're interacting with here. This might be a connection of yours. This could also be an ad. Like I said, if it's an ad, it'll say this is a promotion up here. And then if you want to make your own post that would show up in other people's pages, page.
And that shows up on the friends?
On the front page, just the home page. It would go to friends, it would go to connections, yes. Yeah. LinkedIn does have some privacy settings like Facebook does, where you can choose whether your posts are being showed to just your network or to anyone as well. And that happens after you kind of start clicking in that box. We also have the two most utilized pieces of using LinkedIn are usually seeing what's been going on in your page or your stuff, whatever you've been doing, or your network. And so I've highlighted those here. Your notifications or your network, those two spots, if you have a lot of connections or if there are things going on, those are gonna be the places on your homepage where you might see like a little red dot because you have notifications. And if you click on those things, it'll show you what those notifications are in more detail. Jobs and messaging are also another thing. Messaging can be accessed by 2 points. So if you're responding to people directly, you can access that by both the messaging icon down here or up at the top. They do the same thing. Both of them will pop this up larger in your screen, and so then you can just respond to somebody in a more private setting so that nobody has to see what your conversation is. But I will let you know, this is also where ads appear too. They will send you messages that come from businesses or universities saying, hey, you might be interested in getting a Master's of Library Science degree, come apply to us. Or it might say, it looks like you're interested in business, come apply to this ads. Every time I log in, I get those things. I haven't found a way to turn it off, but I do want to let you know. So that I wanted to talk about, because I think it's the most common, is using LinkedIn as a digital resume. As we mentioned earlier, your page here is going to look very different if you haven't personalized it by adding a picture than if you did. This is a made-up person that I have created for the purpose of this, but you can already see how much more engaging this person's profile looks just by having a picture and a background than this. And that's the only thing I did between these two pictures, is just add the banner and add the profile picture. It is a a great way to just kind of show who you are, to show that you're active. This implies to me that maybe you're not very active on LinkedIn. So if I'm a recruiter trying to find who you are to hire, I'm going to be much more likely to choose you with your picture. Now, this is kind of contradictory to what we do in physical resumes here in America, where I still tell people don't put pictures of yourself on your resume, because that could lead to bias. So it's kind of a two-edged sword that we are facing now in our global economy of, yeah, still don't put a picture on your resume, but yes, they are going to expect a picture of you on LinkedIn. So I do know people who have theirs set to not show a picture until you have added them as a connection. So that's an option too. If you're not looking to find a job through LinkedIn, you just want to have a digital resume, you can absolutely make it so that your picture does not show up to people unless they are already connected to you. But if you are looking for a job, unfortunately, I would recommend going ahead and having a picture there. Before we get going to the next part of it, does anybody have any questions about using your profile page as a resume? No? Okay. One of the things I really recommend folks do with their resume or your profile on LinkedIn is really flesh it out. So if you do go find me on LinkedIn, you will see about 14 to 15 job experiences on my page because I've got literally everything I've done since college on there. I don't think that's a bad thing. Unlike a resume, a physical resume, on a digital resume, you don't have to worry about running out of space. If they want to see your full resume, they will click see more and they will look through all 15 jobs. And if they won't want to, it will default to only showing the first and the most recent 3 experiences that you've had on your resume. So you don't have to worry about that. The other reason I recommend going ahead and put all of your experiences on your LinkedIn page is because you never know what position you're going to be in when you're looking for a job. And so you want to be able to have all of your past experiences as terms that recruiters can search for. So anytime you have, I was responsible for this, I did that, even if those 2 experiences were very different from each other, if you are open to any kind of work right now, that is going to be to your benefit for those recruiters because they're going to be searching for employees in Illinois who have experience in both children's museums and libraries. And I definitely want them to pull from both of those experiences for myself if I'm open to any kind of job and not just one specific type of work. So this is just kind of an example of the overview of it. You can see all of the different things that I've put in this person's page. The About section is also a really great thing to pay attention to on your profile. That is what I like to refer to on a physical resume as maybe your summary. It's a good little elevator pitch about yourself. And it doesn't have to be very long. I still recommend it to be short because people aren't going to read it for very long, just like a physical resume. But it can be like something for like mine, it might be over 10 years experience in libraries, emphasizing on helping people in their job search and navigating reference and resources in the community. And that would be a very apt, short, sweet reference summary about what I do. So they don't have to scroll all the way down if they don't want to. This is where you see the experience portion. As you can see on this made up one, it only has the first 3. If I wanted to add more, it would say see more. The other cool thing about this is your profile is going to link directly to LinkedIn Learning. So if you learn stuff, you can have the option to automatically add it to your learned experience on your page. I did talk about the URL up at the top too. If you want to put your profile for LinkedIn on your physical resume, you can change your URL link to your specific page. You can make it a very short and sweet thing, so it's just like linkedin.com. Now there's probably other Catherine Purcells out there, so I might have to add a number or 2 out there. I might do librarian Cat Purcell, and so then that's an easy URL for that person to search if they have my physical resume, but they also want to look at my digital resume. I know that was a lot. I'm going to take a drink. Do you, if you have questions about the profile page from your setting before we move on? Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I just want to ask something about what you said.
Mm-hmm.
So with the physical resume, we're kind of tailoring that to a specific job.
Yes.
Industry. Whereas with the LinkedIn, we're just being a little bit more flexible, a little bit more descriptive about all of our experience so it can open us up to different opportunities?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes, yeah. With your physical resume, because you're limited to just 1 to 2 pages, you really want to make that as relevant as you can to that one position you're applying for. Because the way the job search is going on right now, any one position that's open is going to have so many more people applying for it than it ever has, probably ever. Everybody's looking at new opportunities right now. So you want that physical resume to tailor to that specific job. Your LinkedIn page can be more like a living document. It can have everything that your whole professional life encompasses is, because it also serves as not just a digital resume for you, but a way that recruiters or people looking to hire you can reference from any of that. So even if it's only showing those last 3 jobs without the drop-down menu, any of those things on your page is searchable. So if I'm a hiring manager and I want to find you on LinkedIn, you want to make sure you have all your skills on there. Does that make sense? Yeah. So just to sum up, make sure you add background and profile photos to show your professionalism and personalization. You want to edit your photo and URL to make sure that you're easier to find. They want to be able to see your photo. If you can't get a professionally photographed photo shoot image done, that is okay. This wall right here would be excellent. Just take a selfie right here with a white background. That's going to be just perfect. This is great lighting. And that'll be all it needs to be. That being said, if your current profile picture is you sitting in your car, that's okay. That's not unheard of, but just make sure your face is easy to see. Add and edit your featured section to keep track of video presentations or photos if you need to. That's just another benefit. If you've done any presentations, like I could add this to my profile, but today on LinkedIn, I talked about LinkedIn. And that would be another way to show my skills. If you don't have that, that's okay too. The cool thing about your profile on LinkedIn is it's very personalizable. If you've attended conferences, you can add that on. It's always a good idea to use those short, concise sentences just like you would on a physical resume. And just like on a physical resume, unless it is relevant to the position, try to avoid buzzwords or internal jargon, because anybody could be coming across your page and they may not know what Polaris Networks means or something like that.
Where on the site would we put our website?
Your website, yeah, that's a good question. Let me go back here. So this has a good example here. Underneath the name, it gives you the option to put a description or a title. And you can put really anything you want in that category. You can put, this person has professor at University of Nowhere. On mine, I say that I am a career librarian and bookaroo, because I thought that would be kind of a funny way to talk about how I like to find books for people. But underneath that, you can add more sections in your profile, and then this would be where you would add a link to your website.
And they show up underneath.
And it'll show up underneath that. Mm-hmm.
And that's what people can put on their physical resume?
Yeah, so you could put that on your physical resume. You could put it on your LinkedIn here. So another example is I also have a side business where I research old homes. So I have that separated from my librarian aspect of it. But there's a link right here directly to my side business as opposed to just what I do here at the library. The other cool thing about LinkedIn is once you put all your information in, it gives you the option to download a physical paper version or a PDF of your resume. I will say that it is going to require some editing. When you first hit that download button, it is going to create a PDF of everything you have on your profile page, which is not going to directly translate to putting it in a 1-page to 2-page document that you would print out and hand to somebody. The good thing is it lets you not only download it as a PDF, but it does let you download it as a Word document, so you can edit some of those sections. So this would be an example of this exact profile that I made up that I downloaded onto from LinkedIn's specific resume creator. It's not perfect, right? But it is still pretty good. It's captured the summary here. We've got a LinkedIn link already. We also have a way to contact this person, where they live, and their experience and skills here. So it's not bad. It's still a great tool to use. I will be honest, there are other resume tools that I would recommend use outside of LinkedIn, but if you'd rather already just make one LinkedIn profile if you don't have one already and go straight into making a resume from it. It is absolutely a great tool to use. So that kind of concludes the digital resume part of LinkedIn. Before we go on to using it as a networking tool, does anybody have any questions? Okay, so one of my favorite things to use LinkedIn for is a networking and career development tool. Obviously, here at the library, we have the option to subscribe to LinkedIn Learning, and that is a great way to advance your skills in the workplace. And LinkedIn Learning itself has all kinds of topics that you can learn on, what I like to call hard and soft skills. So you can learn a class on LinkedIn Learning about Excel, how to do the Excel Essentials, which is like a 10-minute course, but there's also like in-depth Excel, which is like an 8-hour course. But there's also what I call soft skills. If you're like, oh my goodness, I'm showing up to work late every day, I have taken the time management class. It's a really good one. I definitely recommend it. So there's all kinds of skills in there too. But it's also a great networking tool. I like to use it, as I said, when I was searching out places to move to interview or just email people who are currently librarians at towns I was interested in living in, and people are very open to talking, just like they are almost more, I think, comfortable in a digital space like LinkedIn than in person because it's on their own timeline. There's not the pressure of seeing that other person who you're networking with in person and what are they like, what is the goal here. You can get straight to the point. I'm emailing you because I'm interested in being a librarian in Atlanta. What is that like for you? I don't have to do the whole how's the weather down there thing. It's going to be very natural. It's going to be very short and sweet. But also if they choose not to respond to it, they don't have to. You just move on to the next person. It's also a great way to connect to other people in fields you might not be interested in going into, but maybe you're curious because that's a field that's tied to it.
Does it offer a video service?
That's a good question. Do you mean like video chat to one-to-one?
Yeah.
I don't know. That's a really good question. I've only ever used the like messaging feature of it. I know you can upload video to your own profile, but I don't know if you can respond like via video personally. That's a good question. I'm gonna have to look that up. So thank you. So there's lots of different ways to network on LinkedIn. You can network simply in the comments. I like to think of myself as a little bit of a morale officer. So if I'm connected to somebody and I see they're going through a hard time, I might just simply leave a comment saying, you know, I see this is hard. Let me know if I can do anything to help. But also if you see somebody who's just talked about how they got a promotion, I also love to leave a comment. Congrats, you did it. Let me know how that goes for you. And that's just a really easy way to network and keep in touch with people. Maybe you met somebody at an event and you just exchanged cards. You don't know how commonly you'll be interacting with each other, but you've gone ahead and extended that network to LinkedIn. It's really easy to just keep in touch with people that way. There's also groups. Like I mentioned, I personally am in part of the Illinois Networking Library Association group on LinkedIn. There's also an alumni group that I'm a part of on LinkedIn for the college that I went to. And that's a good way for me to stay in touch with people who are other librarians in the state, but also past graduates to see how far we've come, or are we on a completely different path, which is exactly where I am because I went to school for art, but I'm still connected to a lot of my buddies from art school through my alumni network. It's also a good way to do company research. If you're interested in looking for a company and working for them, you can look them up on LinkedIn. What kinds of things are they posting? How do they respond to comments on LinkedIn? Is this going to be an engaging company that you want to work for based on how they present themselves on LinkedIn? There's also messaging, as I talked about, where you can directly message people you're interested in connecting with.
So what's the difference between comments and messaging?
I'll show you. So comments are going to be right here. So here's a video that somebody else has been added. And this is a place where I could go ahead and say, hey, I find this very insightful. And it's just a little comment that anybody can see who can also see that post. But it lets them know that, hey, I think this is a great thing to share. I appreciate it. If you had questions, I've also there's been some instructors on LinkedIn Learning that I have gone ahead and followed on the regular LinkedIn site because they offered really good information. And I've gone ahead and had questions in their comments, and they're very responsive because sometimes it's easier for them to respond to comments that way than it is in the comment course section of a course on LinkedIn Learning. Messaging, as I said, is going to be a little bit more private. It's going to be accessed through this messaging tab here or the one that pops up down here. And that's going to just be seen by that person or you.
So the comments, that?
It would not show up on their front page. It would be something that would just show up here, like in the feed. So if I'm mutually friends with Sol, my coworker, and you are mutually friends with her, and she makes a post and I comment on her post, I can see it, she can see it, and you can see it. And anybody else we're also connected to can see it. But if I wanted to just message her, then it's private. It's just us. The other way you can share stuff is by posting information. You can share information to groups you're already a part of, which is what this video is showing. Say I saw that video that my friend shared and said, hey, this is very slightly, but also I want to show this insightful video to my group. I can go to that group and then share the video that I saw in my feed directly in that group. You can also see other things and just repost them to your followers. So if you see that insightful video, you can just hit that repost button and it's gonna repost it and share it with everybody else who also follows you. A lot of people, like I said, choose to just use it as a digital resume, so they may not be even seeing any of this, and that's okay. You can access somebody's posts through their profile. If you go to their profile and scroll down on their digital resume page, you'll see their experience, their awards, whatever skills they have. And then there's also a section that will say what are their posts, and you can click on that and then see what other posts they've left in other places. Let's see what this one is. So this would be another example here. I think this is just the same thing where you can look up public company profiles. So if you're interested in following Champaign Public Library, maybe I'm thinking, oh, I might want to work for Champaign Public Library. Well, let me see what they post on LinkedIn. I can search for them. I can find their page. I can interact with their comments and their posts and the things that they share. I can like it. And I can also see the types of content that they decide to share from their page or other people that might be commenting and posting on their page, just to get a feel for what their kind of personality is as a company, as opposed to just the people working for them. So here's an example of my specific page. If I'm going to send a message to someone, this is the made-up profile I created messaging my actual page. You can see that this would be a great way to respond to people and comment with them. People have their messages set up different ways, and that's up to you to decide how you want your messages set up. You can have your page set up so that you can only receive messages from people you're already connected with, or you can have it set up so that you can receive messages from anyone. So in this case, because I am a career librarian and this is what I do, my messages are open because LinkedIn is a part of my job and I wanted to be available for people. But if you're not looking for a job or if you're not interested in using LinkedIn for a messaging communication app, then you can absolutely close that down and messages are only going to be accessible by people who are already connected to you. I don't know if there's a feature to turn them off completely. I would guess that the way that LinkedIn is set up, they don't want that because that's a big part of how they share ads as well. So everybody's message page is directly on their profile page, but you can also just go directly to messaging and then type who you wanted to send a message to, and if you're already connected, it will bring them up. If you went to LinkedIn and you went to messaging and you just searched for cat, you're going to get all kinds of cats. It might not just be me. It is going to default to showing you, if you're already connected to me first, but that might show you other cats that are online that also have open messaging. There is a paid version of LinkedIn messaging, and that does let you circumvent that private messaging category a little bit. If you opt to pay for their premium, it does give you the ability to cold message people who may not have their messages open to others. So that's just something to think about. I have explored the paid aspect of LinkedIn myself for a free trial. I have not found much difference for it, but I know that my experience when I was testing it out is going to be different than a lot of people's because I was not actively searching for a job when I opted to use that. I do know that when you pay for premium on LinkedIn, it does make your profile more noticeable to people who are looking for people. So it might make you easier to find or communicate with. But as a librarian, as a free resource user, you can absolutely use LinkedIn without having to pay for it and still get found as an employer.
How much is the premium?
That's a really good question, and I don't remember. I think last time I trialed it, you get a free trial where you get it for a month free, And so absolutely experiment with that. I think last time I was doing that, it was maybe about $40 a month. It's really expensive. And like I said, I don't think it's a requirement. My husband works in tech, and he he's never paid for it, and he still gets recruiters, even though he does not set his profile to be looking to open to work or anything like that. So I know that even if you're not looking, even if you're just on there, if your profile is designed well, you are still going to get recruiters without having to pay for that feature. I will say, if you are interested and you find it worth it, once you trial it, they do continually tell you, hey, we got a discount on it right now. So, you know, you can experiment and go from there. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
How, with me being a library, user, how could I sign up for LinkedIn through the library?
You can just do it. So you don't even have to be connected to the library to create a LinkedIn. A LinkedIn account is free, basically. If you would like a tech help one-on-one, one of us can certainly sit down with you and kind of walk you through the basics of it. The general tactic that we use here at the library, particularly with technology-related book librarians, is we would have you in, quote, the driver's seat. So we would guide you through how to do it, because we want to make sure you know how to use this tool. So if you need help with that, definitely let me know. We can make an appointment later. But yeah, we can certainly do that. But they're all free. Just to have an account on LinkedIn at the basics is free. And the other thing I was talking about with the LinkedIn Learning aspect of it, that is also free to you if you have a library card. So if you don't have access to a library card, that might be another benefit of subscribing and paying for premium, because that gets you the LinkedIn Learning. But if you have a library card with us, you get LinkedIn Learning for free. You don't have to be a premium member.
But if I was to do that, would I have to log in through the library?
You would, yes, but we would go over that on the one-on-one, because it is a little bit more, it takes a few steps to link your LinkedIn profile with your library card so you can have LinkedIn Learning. Once you do it once, you're pretty much good to go, but that first time does take a few extra steps, yeah. Yeah. So career development, that's a perfect segue to that question, because the next section is career development on LinkedIn, which is LinkedIn Learning. I'm going to go back a few extra pages to show you how you access it. This part right here, the for business, those what they sometimes call a waffle icon with those 9 squares, that's how you access LinkedIn Learning. But you can also access it directly from our website if you have that connection set up. Once you're into LinkedIn Learning, it's going to look a little bit more like a course section. It kind of looks like YouTube, because it is done through learning. It is done through video learning. Sometimes there are physical document exercise files depending on the course you take, but it is video on-demand kind of setup, so it looks a lot like YouTube. You'll see on the side here we have how to navigate the LinkedIn Learning portion of it. You'll see the LinkedIn Learning icon. It's got the learning added to the LinkedIn icon. You can browse topics. Like I said, there's lots of different ways you can search for things. There's business creative technology tools. There is now certifications available on LinkedIn for some fields. I know a lot of tech languages like SQL, Java. I know Java is very old school, so it's not one of the current ones, but there are certifications you can get through LinkedIn now. There's also, you can set up your goals in your library. My library on my LinkedIn Learning, because I use this both professionally and personally, is a mess. I've got like 300 things that I've saved in my library, because I might be using those videos for my personal goals or my presentation ideas here. So what your view looks like is going to look a little different, because I know I took this picture a while ago. I know it's up to like 300 now. So you do have the option to set your goals, which is, take half an hour LinkedIn a day, or maybe half an hour LinkedIn a week, depending on what your goals are. You have the ability to set those as your library to I have some videos in mind that I just go back to regularly. Like I said, time management is really important to me. So there's a couple LinkedIn management sections that I just have saved, and I'll just oh yeah, let me rewatch that again. We got to go back to that one. And then you do get certifications for every course you take when you finish it at the end, as well as that option to add it to your profile. You'll see some examples here. We've got some Windows 11, we've got some accessible PDFs, we've also got some managing office politics, right? So we've got some of those hard and soft skill courses available for learning. Here's an example. Once you choose a course that you want to take, of what it's going to look like. You get almost like a chapter book page here with the title of contents for your course. You see the video itself, which is showing you how to use LinkedIn. You'll see the instructor here. You can automatically choose to follow them if you want, but there is also a notebook and a transcript. I love the transcript feature. Sometimes my brain is not really wanting to focus on those videos, but I'll just read the words, and that's very useful to me. The notebook is where you'll find any exercise downloads that come with that course that you can save and keep, and then of course you'll get a certificate at the end when you complete it. Yes, there is. So you'll see over on this tab here, each of these chapter content items has like a little bookmark tab. If you click on that, that's going to save it. But by default, if you were to be watching this and say it's right here, you're about 2 minutes from the end, and you close out your tab, you're done for the day, the next time you open it back up, you're going to get that same home profile page we were just on, but if you click on the course, it's going to start you right back where you left off. But if there's one particular video you really want to come back to, you can go ahead and tab that little save button, and then that's what would be in your saved section. Yeah. So some overviews of it. LinkedIn Learning provides lots of courses. The main ones they focus on are business, creative, and technology. And like I said, they do focus on those soft and hard skills as well. So the next section, before we get into that, do you guys have any questions about learning through LinkedIn? If you do, like I said, want a one-on-one on getting that set up or getting familiar with it, let me know. We can work with it. I don't know if it'll be me specifically working with you, but we will do our best to make sure you know how to use LinkedIn since you have access to it here at the library. And as I said, it is a very good employment tool. You can use LinkedIn to search for jobs. You can also use LinkedIn to be found by jobs. And I guess I didn't provide a further example of what that looks like. And part of that probably was because I think it changes a lot. The last time I made this, when I went back in here, the images were completely different from what it looks like now. Every time I've gone onto it, it looks very different. I will confess, it is not my favorite tool for searching for jobs. I think it is much better utilized for recruiters to find you on LinkedIn. I think if you wanted to really work on the job search feature itself, there are other tools I would recommend to you one-on-one. I've got a page there too, the Make It CU board, which is local information, local jobs. That one's a much more well-designed job search site than LinkedIn is. However, as I said, recruiters are on LinkedIn for companies. They are looking for people. There are recruiters that companies pay to do nothing but look for good candidates on LinkedIn, whether they've applied to positions or not. So if you are designing your profile effectively, you will be found by those recruiters, and you can focus your time more devoted to those specific jobs you truly are interested in, because you will get recruiters coming for you if you're set to open to work on LinkedIn, who may or may not be what your ideal jobs look for. I've had several come into my messages and tell me that they've got great work from home opportunities. And I'm like, I am so happy for these other people who I hope that you're communicating with, because they are not me. I love working with people. I love being in the office. So you will get recruiters if you're set to exist on LinkedIn just by default. And some of those, I have never myself run into illegitimate recruiters on LinkedIn. I do always say, always open up that next tab, completely unrelated, and do some research on that company. If you are approached by a recruiter who looks like they're offering you a position that sounds really good, just to verify that that position is a real position that does exist. Now, that also being said, not every company posts all their job postings online openly anymore. So if it sounds good and it's too good to be true, investigate it. Call that company if it's not showing up on their website, just to be sure. It's always going to pay to be better safe than sorry, right? So, because job scammers do exist out there on LinkedIn, just like they do on any other website. For the purposes of this video, because we still have some time left, we could probably go ahead and stop the video. And if you guys want to just kind of chat and talk about LinkedIn with specific questions, we can absolutely do that. Thank you very much.